All right, guys, let's look at your personal budget. So you can grab a link to this particular spreadsheet in the description. This is living in Google Drive, so you can download it, you can modify it, you can come back, mess it up, download it again, all that good stuff. Okay, may have worked through a personal budget before, so this may just kind of be a little bit repetitive. I want to go over how personal budgets work for those who have not worked through one before. I might also have taken the actual savings portion out of this personal budget because I'm going to address that in a separate video because I want to talk about savings to make sure everybody has a rainy day fund. So this is a personal budget. I want you to work through it for current, where you're at right now. I want you to work through it for the next 2 to 3 years. And then I want you to work through it, if you would like, for the next, like in 10 years, in 20, whatever helps you envision where you want your business to go, right? So we're setting goals in this unit. We're setting goals so that we can get our business to where it's going to financially support us. And we need to know what your personal expenses are going to be, right? So this is the main sheet. I'm going to hop to this copy of the sheet just so that I don't mess up the actual template. So when we look through your personal budget, what we're going to do is we are going to do the budget for the whole entire household that you're supporting. Okay. I recognize there may be other sources of income in that household. If you have a spouse, you may have other sources of income. If you have a W-2 job that you're not planning on leaving, then you have another source of income, right? If you have maybe some sort of investment income coming in, whatever you have coming in that is reliable and is coming in on a monthly basis, right? So don't put other income sources if they're not reliable in your budget. Now, you may have an instance where you're like, well, the next 2 years, I'm going to be receiving royalties from XYZ. I know they're guaranteed. Okay, fine. Put those in for the next 2 years. But make sure, one, they're pretty sure things, right? And then 2, you're not including that same income in 5 years, 10 years, etc. Because I don't want you to count on income that's not going to be there. So when we look at other income sources, I'm just going to work through this as if I'm doing this. So for example, perhaps you have a spouse. So you have your spouse's income. Let's say that the spouse brings in, $5,000 a month. And let's say that you have investment income, and this is really reliable. You have a trust, maybe you get paid out, $1,000 a month, something along those lines. You're going to take all of these items here, and you're going to total them. So this is your total other income. Okay, so you can do sum of B5 through B6. Obviously, I'm assuming you have more than 2 lines. So you have $6,000 of other income coming in, right? Now, when you look at how we're valuing this, I don't want you to just pull it from last month. I want you to pull the average over like the last year. Now, if you know something's changed, like for example, if maybe your spouse used to bring home like $7,500 a month, and now they're bringing home $5,000, we'll obviously use the more current number. Don't use the average, but for things like utilities, insurance, that kind of thing, you can use the average. So let's say rent and mortgage, let's say it's $2,500 a month. Utilities, you can add lines under here too. So let's say I want to break this out and I want to say, cell phone. My cell phone is $75 a month. I have water. My water bill is $50 a month. And obviously trying to get better. I'm just doing like round estimates, trying to get an actual number. And if you're going to round up to be safe. So I always say round down on income, round up on expenses. It leaves you a buffer. Okay, so again, if you're going to round down on income, so always underestimate income, and round up on expenses, so always overestimate expenses, because that difference will give you a little bit of a buffer. If you underestimate expenses and you overestimate income, you're more likely to go over budget. Okay, so let's say water and electric. So let's say electric is 150 a month. Insurance, again, you can break this out. So maybe you put some below and you say, oh, car insurance is 110 a month. Medical insurance is going to be 675. Oops, I should label it. So just work through, what are these numbers? Maybe you have some, dental and vision in here too. Make sure you're grabbing everything. So how do you make sure you're grabbing everything that you need, right? You can go through your bank statements. So I really recommend going through bank statements for the last year. It's really helpful too because sometimes you catch things like you might be like, oh, I didn't realize Netflix was that expensive. Maybe I need to go to a lower package on Netflix, or why do we have Netflix, Hulu, and another streaming service? Like, let's cancel one. So go through your last 12 months of bank statements. Actually, do it. Sit down and do it. So my recommendation would be to just go through here and make sure that you're grabbing everything. So make sure you're getting your rent or your mortgage. So where are you living, right? And what does that cost you? Other income too might be like if you have a roommate, and they're paying for a portion of that rent or mortgage, don't put the full amount of rent and mortgage on here, right? That shouldn't be part of your budget. It should be your portion of the rent or mortgage. So go through and just add things in here. Make sure you grab all your insurance and medical. If you have dental and vision, grab that. If you have life insurance, grab that amount. Any insurance that is coming out, I want you to make sure that you include. Remember, this is personal expenses, though. This is not business. Your business should have a completely separate budget. Okay. So this is your personal budget. Medications. Make sure you grab groceries, and in your groceries include your food and your hygiene products and any other trash bags, paper towels, toilet paper, that kind of stuff. Vehicle expenses. For vehicle expenses, you want to make sure you're including your lease or your payment on your loan for your vehicle. Okay, you want to make sure that you are including fuel. And then you also have other miscellaneous vehicle expenses. You may have registration. Once a year, you may have particular services that you pay for. Maybe you pay for some sort of, roadside assistance or something like that is outside of your insurance. Make sure you grab all your vehicle expenses. School and education. This doesn't just have to be college, right? Maybe you have some additional tutors or something for a dependent of yours, that kind of thing. Entertainment. A lot of people say, well, I don't have a lot of entertainment, but I'll bet you do. So if you haven't grabbed things like Netflix and Hulu, if you have any sort of streaming services, if you have SiriusXM, for example, if you have not grabbed that in utilities, that needs to go into entertainment. That's something you're paying every month. And while you might think, oh, well, Netflix is what, $20? That's not a big deal. It adds up, okay? Those small items add up. The other thing is when you're going through those 12 months of statements, you might find stuff you didn't even remember you had. So I think it's always nice to go through and actually look through your subscriptions that you're paying. And your budget can help you with that. So entertainment, make sure you're grabbing all of that. This would also include like memberships to things like the zoo, memberships to like any sort of children's museum, or like membership to a bounce house if you have that for your kid. If you are doing gym, like if you're a gym member, gym membership would be on here. It doesn't necessarily have to go into entertainment. Just make sure it gets on your budget because it's a monthly expense. Clothing. So obviously your clothing expenses are probably going to be variable throughout the year. Put your average monthly clothing expense here. Okay, I understand, like, especially if you have kids, you're probably shopping with the seasons, right? I do. So when it starts to get cold, I'm like, oh, my kid has to have a snowsuit, a winter jacket, gloves, hats, etc. And so I might have a large clothing budget, like end of September, beginning of October. Just split it out throughout the year so that you are including your average for the year. You're including that average monthly amount. Repairs and maintenance. So this could be repairs and maintenance on your vehicle. It might be repairs and maintenance on your home. Just make sure you're grabbing all those repairs and maintenance on there. Again, grab just like an average for the year. But if you know, like my truck's getting a little bit older now, it's a couple years old, I drive quite a bit. So I know my repairs and maintenance bill is going to go up in the next 2 to 3 years. If I'm doing a budget for the next 2 to 3 years, I want to make sure I capture that, right? I've been extremely lucky. I haven't had to do a lot of repairs on my truck. It's going to happen. So my repairs and maintenance, even though I might not have really anything outside of oil changes right now, my repairs and maintenance bill is going to go up in 2-3 years. And so I'm going to capture that on here. Okay. I have entertainment twice. Apparently I want to make sure that you guys are entertained. Let me delete that. So meals. I know I've already done groceries. Meals are going to be things like I went through Starbucks and I got my coffee. I went through and I went out to eat. Debt payments. These are going to be if you owe any back taxes or anything like that. If you have credit card payments that you need to be making, if you have student loan payments, those are debt payments that need to be captured on your budget. Okay. I also have an area for miscellaneous. Obviously, I understand that you guys are going to have different expenses than what other people do, right? So, for example, I have horses. So my miscellaneous is going to include horses. I also tend to have a lot of animals. So I might have a completely separate area on my budget for animals. That is okay. If you have a particular hobby, make sure you're budgeting for that, okay? I want your budget to be realistic. So the biggest problem that I see when I see clients that come through and do budgets is they're like, oh my God, I spent, $600 on groceries every month. Like, that's not okay. Instead of putting 600, I'm going to put 500. No, put the 600, okay? Put the realistic number on there, okay? We are talking about what your business needs to do in order to support you in the lifestyle that you want. Could you remove $100 worth of grocery expenses? Yeah, probably. I mean, we probably all could budget a little bit and squeeze a little bit more. We could probably find $100 here and there. But that's not the point of this exercise. The point of this exercise is to find your actual cost of living on a month-to-month basis. Okay. If you find something that's just not serving you anymore, that you're just not using, then yes, obviously take that off your budget. But be realistic here. Okay. So let's say we have $100 worth of medications. Let's say vehicle expenses, we have, $725. Make sure you include fuel on there. School/education, I pay $120 a month for some sort of tutoring or something. Entertainment, $450. I have kids. Clothing, let's say that we have $350. Repairs and maintenance, this is really going to depend on whether or not you own your home, your vehicle, etc. Meals out, $125. Again, don't reduce your meals because you get frustrated when you see the amount of times you go get coffee from Starbucks or something like that, okay? Be realistic, understand, like, it is what it is, and move on. Debt payment, let's say there's $750, and then let's say, like, I just have some, random expenses in here. I find it helpful when I'm doing budgets to actually list these items out. So like we did with utilities, where we have cell phone, water, electric, etc. I'm just doing this as an exercise. So obviously it's going to be a little bit faster. So I'm going to use B10 through B20. Okay. So what we see here is total other income sources We're getting $6,000 from other sources. Our total expenses are $8,405. We're going to take this and we're going to subtract this. This is what we need to contribute to the monthly budget before we take into account savings and taxes. Okay? Again, this number right here is what we need to account for in our budget before we take into account savings and taxes. This $2,405 right here. Your budget may not look like this, and that's okay. All right? Hopefully your budget doesn't have such nice round numbers, because hopefully you go through and you pull 12 months worth of bank statements and you actually work through those numbers. Okay? I want you to actually work through the actual numbers and figure out what is a realistic amount. Keeping in mind that even though it's nice to look through and say, I don't want to spend that much on meals this month. Okay, but you are. So let's just keep that number, right? Let's just keep that number and see what happens. So I'm going to walk you through it one more time real quick. You're going to go grab this spreadsheet from the link in the descriptions. Your spreadsheet's not going to be filled in. Your spreadsheet's going to look like this, less this extra entertainment, because we don't need that. We don't need to entertain ourselves that much. So your spreadsheet's going to look like this. You are going to fill this spreadsheet in similar to what I've done here. So you're going to look at your other income sources first. If you have a spouse who is contributing to your household, make sure you include your spouse's income. Now, one of the things to keep in mind here is I have not put the amount of savings that you need to put aside. Okay, so make sure you're allocating some of your spouse's income to savings. Or if they're, taking retirement out of this $5,000, make sure you are taking the income amount after they have pulled out like the retirement and all of that good stuff. Okay. So your other income may be like spouse's income, if you have a W-2 income, any sort of investment income. I want you to take income levels that are realistic for where you're at right now when you're doing your current budget. And then I want you to make sure that you're including income that is reliable. So if, this year you're like, man, I traded stock really well. Is that a reliable source of income? Maybe not. Okay. So make sure that you are including other sources of income coming into your home, but ones that are reliable. Okay. So you're going to total your other income sources. This is going to be the other items coming into your household. And then you're going to go through and you're going to tally up your expenses. And when you look at these expense categories, you can break them down further. So the categories that I gave you, they're very broad and there's not a lot of them, right? For you to capture your whole entire household spending in, 20, 15 lines is not realistic, okay? Break it out. Take, utilities, you have your cell phone, your water, your electric. Break down these categories into smaller chunks and use actual numbers from bank statements, okay? So you're gonna go through, you're gonna do that. You're going to come up with a total number of expenses. Then you are going to take your expenses and you are going to subtract your other income total. The difference there is what you need to be able to contribute to your household after you've paid taxes and after we set money aside for savings, okay? So you're going to take this total expense number and you are going to subtract your total other income, okay? So right here, this is $2,405. Your budget does not have to look like this. Your budget may not look like this, and that is okay. Everybody's different. Every household is different. That is okay. That's not a problem. I want you to calculate this for your current spending for 2 to 3 years down the road. And then if you would like for like 10 years, and really whatever time frame you'd like to set goals for, okay? So we have this right here. Now let me show you, oops, Sorry if you can hear my cats in the background. Let me show you what step we've just accomplished, okay? So this is what we're doing here. We are setting goals, okay? Again, for current, 2 or 3 years in the future, 10 years, etc. So we're setting goals here on what we need our revenue and our business to be. Right now, we've completed this first step. So we're reverse engineering our profits, and we have looked at our personal monthly expenses, okay? Next, we're gonna do our savings. So we're gonna take a look at what do we personally need to put aside for savings, and in order to have like a rainy day fund and all that good stuff, okay? So that is all I've got for now. I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope that this was helpful. If you have any questions, please post in the community. I will help you. Don't be afraid to ask questions about this, okay?